Countdown. 3.
Oh, the U.S. Senate race in Utah. Wow, did it take a wild turn this week? We had John Curtis in the House. He's announced he's throwing his hat into the Senate race. And next up is Brad Wilson. He's joining us. Is it in the 10 o'clock hour we're going to have former House Speaker Wilson on the air? 9:50. So in about 45 minutes from now, he's calling the show. He's going to join us to discuss his reaction to the other candidates that are jumping in the race.
He's understandably very grumpy with me, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I need to be careful there. This seat should be earned. Nobody just walks into this seat, and nobody should be surprised that the quality of candidates jumping into this race, and we're not done, right?
I do want to know if Brad Wilson is grumpy. I would be grumpy because John Curtis said he is absolutely, positively not going to run for Senate. It was an op-ed that he wrote, by the way, and then he changed his mind. Now he came on the show, he explained why. I get it. And nobody is guaranteed that seat. It's a race for a reason. It's not a one-man race. So, but it will be very, very interesting to talk to the former speaker and see how this changes things coming up in the next 10, 11 months.
Countdown. 2.
Oh, there has been some new developments in the race for the White House, at least on the Republican side of things. Technically, it is the race for first place, but right now in the GOP, it looks like everyone not named Donald Trump is battling for second place.
When you have these situations, leaders got to lead, and you got to put politics aside.
Well, that was Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and he has now dropped to third place behind Nikki Haley in some of the polls.
Yeah, and some of those polls showed Nikki Haley doing phenomenally well. Ron DeSantis, I mean, he's fallen steadily. It's like the world's slowest trip on a sled. It's just slowly going down, slowly. Nikki Haley is shooting up the poll. She's doing great. They both had town halls last night.
Launch. Countdown. 1.
All new this morning, an FBI warning that lays out just how insidious virtual kidnapping is. I think this is an important warning for parents, for schools, for host families of foreign exchange students. The alert posted by the FBI just days after police found a Chinese foreign exchange student hunkered in a tent, freezing in a Utah canyon. The victim of a months-long virtual kidnapping scheme he was too afraid to tell anyone about.
As Kai opens the tent door, he's in tears. He's just relieved. The first thing he wants to do is contact his family to see if they're okay.
This story has so many layers. I'm very excited that we can bring more details to you. But I also think, Debbie, we are all collectively way too cocky about, oh, this would never happen to me. I would never fall for this. We do. And we're so embarrassed when we do, we don't talk about it, we don't want to admit it, and then it just happens again and again and again. This is not just to foreign exchange students from China. This is happening to Americans here in Utah.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
It was a miracle that police found 17-year-old foreign exchange student from China. His name's Kai. Just in the nick of time. I mean, look at this weather out here now. Can you imagine if this would have happened 10 days later when he was found camping with hardly any gear at all in a Utah canyon by police? What we learned this week from the chief of police who headed up the investigation, while we covered it extensively here on the show and at KSL News Radio, is that Kai was likely being manipulated by these virtual kidnappers for months.
I think that he's been being manipulated and controlled and put in fear by these guys for months. As far as being in the woods, since the 28th, so 3 days, imagine being 3 days out in this cold weather, long, cold nights.
This story to me speaks to the power of manipulation. No one was holding Kai out in the woods at gunpoint, forcing him to be there. They had scared him to the point where he had self-isolated, that he had gone and he is freezing and cold and starving and alone all of these things, but he is so afraid of what might happen to himself or to his family that he is suffering in this miserable condition, completely lost, not knowing what to do next.
Parents are in China. He's here in Utah going to school. He's being manipulated to the point where he's convincing his parents to please send him money, to the point where they're like, we're running out of money, but we find out he's the mule, right? And he's wiring the money to the kidnappers.
The amount of money, too, is staggering. $80,000 in total.
And as a ransom, they think their son's been kidnapped because the kidnappers have convinced Kai to send photos as though he's being held captive.
They're doing like a three-way phone call, which is another layer to it that I guess I hadn't really brought up in my own mind. They were talking to the parents. You had the parents, the kidnapper, and Kai all on this three-way call, and it sounded like Kai was with the kidnappers.
After this all concludes in a Utah canyon, when thankfully police found Kai in time, starving, wanted to call his mom and dad right away to make sure they were okay, because I'm sure the kidnappers were telling him they were going to kill his parents or harm them.
Yep.
Now the FBI this week issuing an alert that really lays out how this kidnapping scheme works. And the FBI lays it out in phases. Can I start walking you through some of those phases, Dave?
Yes.
Because this is such important information if you have a missionary abroad, if you are traveling abroad, if you are traveling anywhere in the United States, if you are a school principal and you have foreign exchange students, if you're a host family. Phase one of this kidnapping scheme, the virtual kidnappers make it look like they're calling from the Chinese embassy in many cases, and that the victim that they're contacting, they like stage this ruse that there's they're part of some sort of financial fraud investigation. So that's phase one. Then the next phase comes into play. That's phase two. The phony, kidnapper, the virtual kidnappers then transfer the call to what they say is like a Chinese police department. And it's all fake, but the victims don't know this, right? And then this police department or the investigator phonies up criminal charges, even produces documents to show the victim that they've been charged criminally, and then threatens the victim with arrest. So they're scared.
This level of sophistication that you're describing, Debbie, this is not just somebody in their basement thinking up a little scam. This is well coordinated and many, many layers to convince you that this is really happening.
There's two additional layers. Wait until I tell you about phase three, where the virtual kidnappers convince the victim to let them surveil them around the clock. We're going to talk about that next.
Strike me down if I could. Family ties.
Dave and Dujanovic. This U.S. Senate race gets better by the day.
Elections officials say next week's deadline may catch some by surprise.
Congressman John Curtis in studio with us live.
This is a major life decision.
Democrats say they will run a candidate, but haven't yet said who.
Get updates on who's running each morning this week and get analysis on the candidates later in the day. Listen to Dave and Dujanovic at 9 and Boyd Matheson at 1. Your voice, your vote 2024. This week
on KSL News Radio.
I always say when it comes to your SOTA weight loss journey, there's no time to lose, there's only time to win with SOTA weight loss. It's SOTA, stands for state-of-the-art weight loss, because it is state-of-the-art. And it is time to win. Right now, you could actually win a full year of SOTA's amazing program and a $2,000 wardrobe makeover, which you will need when you have success in SOTA's Shape Up showdown. All you have to do is send an email to shapeup@sodaweightloss.com to be entered. It's an extraordinary thing. I did have to go out and get some new clothes because it works. The results don't lie. I lost 37 pounds in just 90 days, and I'm 2 years into my maintenance program. Never felt better because it works. It's based on science. You have your own coach and nutritionist to help you every step of the way. Check it out at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
If you're trying to decide which gutter protection to put on your home, don't just ask how they'll handle leaves. Ask how they'll handle ice. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and that's right, ice. See, plenty of gutter guards are good at keeping out leaves, but most are made with flimsy materials that can bend, buckle, and break under the weight of too much ice. Kind of a big problem in an icy state like Utah, right? At RGS Exteriors, our exclusive gutter protection systems are built Utah tough. They're made with premium strength materials that hold up to 1,200 pounds of ice per square foot. Simply put, they're not going to budge. Our gutter guards are also certified to handle hurricane-level winds and rain. Mother Nature can't damage them. Guaranteed. Utah Tough Products. That's the RGS way. For a free estimate, call 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com or 801-280-3110.
Social Security is with you through life's journey from birth to retirement. As your life changes year to year, so do your needs. For over 80 years, Social Security has helped to meet your needs and is committed to improving access to the services that make a difference in your life. Today, you can verify your earnings, estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, manage your benefits, and even change your address, all from the comfort of your home. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. It drove me crazy. It got so bad, I couldn't do my homework. I couldn't concentrate. I absolutely refused to let any of my friends come to our house for any reason. I would have been humiliated if anyone found out how much my dad drank and how loud my mom screamed at him. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful. The only thing that happened is my mom started going to Al-Anon family groups. Her relationship with my dad really changed. I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-Anon meetings or to Alateen. I wanted to see if I could have a better relationship with my dad. I'm sure glad I did. If someone's drinking troubling you, you might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon or Alateen family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-ALANON or go to alanon.org.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, those snow totals have gone up. You can now expect 2 to 6 inches on the valley floor tomorrow night into Sunday. Second, police are investigating a dead body found at a Midvale massage parlor. Third, police are trying to locate missing 22-year-old Mason Allen, who walked away from the Salt Lake Behavioral Health Center. Right now, we do have snow and 32 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
The movie show is a Friday tradition, and it still is. Make sure you're listening for the new KSL movie show after Dave and Dujanovic. We have our favorite movies and a few stinkers. 11 this morning on KSL News Radio.
It's finally Friday, and this is Dave and Dujanovic. Conversation and insights on the stories Utahns care about most. It's Friday on KSL News Radio.
And here's our top local story.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
The NBC News headline read like this, Dave. FBI issues cyber kidnapping warning after a Utah student was found in the mountains. Dave and I walking you through the new FBI alert after Kai, the 17-year-old foreign exchange student from China, was found alive, hiding in a canyon in Utah. We had the chief of police who headed up the investigation to find Kai live on the show this week, and he did give us a lot of information about this case.
So they contacted him through the internet. They learned about who he was, and they started communicating with him and says, hey, we know who you are, we know who your parents are, and they're in China, and I don't, they're leading him to believe that his parents are in danger in China if he doesn't do what they ask him to do.
And I think it's very, very important to remember that this is a 17-year-old kid. He's 17 years old. I mean, you and I have, well, I certainly have been, even in my 40s, been scammed before. Not on this level, but, concert tickets, where I've thought, oh, I should know better. And I'm a 40-year-old in the news that talks about scams every week.
You got scammed last month.
Don't talk about the crab legs.
You got
Let's
scammed
not talk
last
about
month
the
on
crab
social
legs.
media. You thought you were ordering crab legs for $1.99 a pound, and you found out
that would have been a good deal,
they
though.
never got
Technically,
delivered. They never got. So I agree with you,
Yeah.
Dave.
We get a little cocky, I think, sometimes when we hear these scams and dismiss it thinking, oh, this would never happen to me. It happens to thousands, tens of thousands of people.
Well, what about your child? What if your child, what if you're on a cruise in the middle of the ocean, have no cell phone contact, and your children get a phone call? It says, your dad's been kidnapped. We're holding him for, $20,000 ransom. And if you don't get down to the local, wiring
You're going to Venmo
spot,
me.
Yeah, you're going to Venmo me right now.
It's even easier now.
And your kids would probably, first of all, they'd call Aunt Deb, and they'd say, Aunt Deb, we need $10,000. And hopefully I would be in enough of a mindset to go, no, that you guys are just you're the victim of a virtual kidnapping. Let's step back. In a moment, we're going to talk to a retired FBI supervisor who's been with us every step of the way as the story has unfolded, to give us more insight on this new FBI alert that was just issued in light of the situation that happened in Utah. Now, we went through what the FBI laid out as phase 1 and phase 2. First, phase 1, you get the call from the Chinese embassy, and oftentimes this is happening to foreign exchange students who are living not only in Utah, but in the United States, and their parents are back home, but the victim is the child. They get the call. And then they say, hey, you are a suspect in a financial fraud. We're going to transfer your call to it. And then it's a phony police department or a police officer they transfer the call to who has already phonied up fake charges. They threaten arrest. And now for phase 3, Dave, the virtual kidnappers convince, in this case, people like Kai, to allow them to surveil them 24/7. This is per the FBI alert. The FBI says they convince the victims to either somehow turn on a webcam or use video or audio. So the kidnappers so somehow the victims can prove to the kidnappers they're innocent. And they're ordered not to say a word to anybody about this, which explains a lot of, I think, Kai's behavior.
Well, and technology has made it so easy to surveil 24/7. It's very easy. We do this all the time where you share your location with somebody.
True.
So the kidnappers could absolutely say, I need you to share your location with me. That way they can track.
Carl Schmay, retired FBI supervisor and special agent, worked kidnappings in his career, on the line with us once again. Thanks so much, Carl, for being with us again today. And I think this is a warning. It's a warning for schools. It's a warning for host families. It's a warning for all families, in fact. If you've got somebody traveling, you could be the next victim of this mental manipulation.
Yeah, hey, guys, happy Friday. Your first Friday, right?
Finally,
yes,
Friday.
We're finally on the air. Thanks so much for joining us for our first Friday show, Carl.
Absolutely. Hey, Deb, you're absolutely right. The first step of defense against this type of thing is to have awareness. So to sit down and talk with your kids, talk with all your family members, because anybody could get a phone call, right? My daughter had a good friend of hers that got a phone call that, a friend of hers was kidnapped, and this friend, young 20s, freaked out and started sending money.
It can happen to anybody.
It can happen to anybody. So awareness is the first line of defense. If you get a phone call, saying that your loved one's been kidnapped, you should be immediately suspicious because there's so many of these scams and variations of it, like that FBI warning talks about.
So when we start asking people, because I think a lot of us would be afraid, well, do I just call the police? Are the police going to get angry with you if you call and say, hey, is this legit? Or is there another step I should make before I call the police?
Absolutely call the police. The police are not going to get angry. So contact the police or the FBI. Look, they would love to nip this in the bud. Look how many resources the Riverdale police spent. I mean, I give these guys kudos. They had a good idea. This was a scam. But they put a full court press on this. They had people working over the weekend out in really difficult conditions. And so they would much rather just be able to educate somebody and say, hey, man, this is a scam, rather than have to put troops or, police officers out in the fields.
Carl, you said earlier this week, have a password with your family. So and it's like, for example, somebody's name you don't often use. So if you do get caught in this, like what Kai's family got caught in, they're in China, he's here. The virtual kidnappers are orchestrating a 3-way conference call. It makes it seem like he's a kidnap victim. All the while, they're probably threatening him that they're going to kill or hurt his parents. You said, use a buzzword or some sort of a word that you can communicate to your family that lets them know that you're actually okay. Do you still stand by that after all this crazy information is coming out, that is one way that families can kind of flag this early on?
Yeah, having a password is definitely one of the ways, but I think what's even more important to that is having awareness. I think the awareness is going to be the first line of defense. Because these things keep getting more and more sophisticated. So when I was a hostage negotiator for the FBI, one of the things we would always look for is what we call proof of life. You want the kidnapper to provide proof of life, usually a photo or a video or a phone call from the victim showing that they're actually okay and still alive. And as David mentioned, with technology, people can do 3-way phone calls. Now there's talk of people using AI to clone voices. So people can actually fake proof of life much easier now than they could even just a short time ago.
Yeah, even these deep fakes that even a FaceTime call can look like, someone could deep fake me and my voice and what I look like. So the layer, as you were saying, Carl, is just making sure people understand that these conventional things we think of, like, oh, just do a FaceTime call, or just, it's not that easy anymore.
It's not that easy. And people are just preying on fear, right? Because people are scared out of their minds, right? You're just going about your day, and then you get this phone call, someone screaming at you, swearing at you. You might hear some screaming in the background, and they're saying, we've got your kid. Kai was convinced to take a picture of himself in the tent, which was then used to, pretend proof of life to send to his family. There's been reports of this happening down in Australia, where some Chinese students were actually tying themselves up and blindfolding themselves, taking pictures, and then sending that to the kidnappers, who then sent that off to the family. So the key thing with this is the FBI calls this virtual kidnapping because nobody ever physically puts hands on the victim. It's all a scam, right? They're told you're under surveillance, that we're going to do these things to either you or your family. We saw this a few years ago in the border area, and we had some cases here in Utah. We had a Utah businessman that went down to Mexico and was contacted by somebody who said, hey, listen, we're with the cartel. Go isolate yourself, move hotels, go to a different hotel room, isolate yourself, turn off your phone. We're watching you. And he did this because he was scared out of his mind, and then meanwhile his family was being contacted to extort money out of him. So these scammers are very creative, but if they're telling you to isolate yourself and don't contact the police, that's exactly what you should not do.
Yeah, it's a red flag. Definitely. Carl Schmay, thank you so much. So great to talk to you again. Great advice. If you miss this conversation, you're like, oh, I need to hear more. I'm going to sit down before I head out of the country or before my missionary child heads off on their mission. I'm going to sit down and have this conversation to make sure everybody's on the same page. You can podcast our brand new Friday show right after the show.
9 9:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story, we're going to have snow for most of the day today and for much of the weekend. KSL meteorologist Matt Johnson says we'll get the brunt of today's storm around lunchtime.
There is a chance that we see a little bit of lake enhancement behind the front, but generally speaking, after the lunch hour, it becomes a lot more showery.
We'll actually get a break most of Saturday before it picks back up through potentially Monday morning. Just today, look for 1 to 2 inches in the valleys, 5 to 10 inches in the mountains. Fire crews in Spanish Fork spent the night putting out a house fire. The fire started in the garage and spread through the attic. The people who lived in the home were uninjured. But one dog did die in the fire. The home was deemed a total loss. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A French study says an anti-malaria drug recommended by former President Donald Trump as a COVID treatment is responsible for the death of at least 17,000 people worldwide.
In 2020, during the first wave of the pandemic, hydroxychloroquine, an anti-malaria drug, was prescribed off-label to treat and as a preventative measure against COVID-19. This despite a lack of evidence that it was effective against the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Now researchers in France and Canada analyzing hospitalization data, finding that nearly 17,000 people across 6 countries, including the U.S., may have died after taking hydroxychloroquine, with the mortality rate in those that took the drug rising 11%. Dave Packer, ABC News.
And coming up, let's first get a look at your money at this moment. The Dow is up 57 points. We're at 37,497. That snow is starting to come down. We'll continue into the weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:33.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. Over the years, I've talked a lot about hard water takes years off the life of water heaters and other appliances in your home. Leaves scum on the shower walls, and you almost need a jackhammer to remove that. I've talked about how Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer, their water softeners are maintenance-free. You just don't need adjustment, and they do the job with 2/3 less salt than other softeners. But today, I want to talk about the exhilarating feeling of stepping into a hot bath or shower and feeling that pure, soft water cascade over your skin. It feels like every pore in your body wants to stand up and start singing. And afterward, there are no itchy hard water deposits sticking all over you. You really should look into a soft water system from Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. You can learn more about Connecticut by giving them a call at 801-576-8600 or log on to Softwater Utah. Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. Then sit back and enjoy your shower even more.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with Dino Pay. And here is Aubrey Withrich.
Have a snowy drive out there if you're traveling on I-15, anywhere from Ogden into downtown and then from Provo into downtown. The roads are moving pretty good on I-15, but it is still going to be snowy, so watch out for that. 215's east and west side belt, both of those moving along pretty well. The canyons are a little bit of a different story, especially Provo Canyon. If you're going through there, you do have a crash eastbound near Vivian Park. That's causing delays in both directions. And then a little bit further, if you are on the east side of Deer Creek Reservoir, you are going to have a crash there that's affecting both directions. directions as you head into Charleston. I'm Aubrey Withrich in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, that snowstorm will bring us some much-needed water today, and we'll get another storm in here Saturday night into Sunday with even more snow. Right now, we do have snow and 33 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Hi, it's Andy Farnsworth with a reminder about the new KSL movie show. Listen right after Dave and Dujanovic for me and Steve Sales. We'll tell you about the week's biggest movies starting at 11 on KSL News Radio.
It's finally Friday, and this is Dave and Dujanovic. Conversation and insights on the stories Utahns care about most. It's Friday on KSL News Radio.
I was driving in for our first Friday show this morning. Listen, of course, as I do every morning, to Tim and Amanda on Utah's Morning News, Dave, and they were talking about a story that we have spent a lot of time talking about on the show and here at KSL News Radio. And that is a situation with Ruby Franke and the guilty plea that she entered just a couple of weeks ago. Now her business partner, former business partner, Jody Hildebrandt, we're reporting that her house in southern Utah has gone up for sale. Hildebrandt also pled guilty to charges, I believe, just right after Franke pled.
Now, remember, Ruby Franke is a YouTube mom, and what she would do is post all these YouTube videos about her parenting style. And the idea behind the YouTube channel and why it was so popular, and to be very honest, Debbie, this was a very popular YouTube channel, was kind of this tough parenting. We're going to raise tough kids with some tough parenting. And it resonated with some people. What we learned, though, is that it wasn't just tough parenting, that it was abuse.
KSL News Radio's Claire Scott's going to walk us through the details on the house and the fact that it's gone up for sale. It's in southern Utah. And then KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas is going to join us in just a matter of moments to talk about what possible prison sentences, how long these prison terms will be for both Franke and Hildebrandt. With his expertise on how the system works.
It's been about a week since Jody Hildebrandt, ex-partner of YouTube family vlogger Ruby Franke, pled guilty to charges of aggravated child abuse in court. She was quick to get her 10,000 square foot home up on the market. Yes, this is the home at the center of the investigation into the Franke family. One of Ruby Franke's children escaped from Hildebrandt's house in August, spurring law enforcement to search the house where they found a second child. The house is listed at over $5 million. Claire Scott, KSL News Radio.
That was eye-popping to me.
The amount?
$5 million. So I don't know where this kind of money came from. Independently wealthy was just such an incredible.
She ran that business.
So obviously very successful if you're living in a $5 million house.
So the business was based in Utah County, and it was called Connections Classroom. We've reported that it's a mental and emotional healing company. Franke's plea, she's the mom of the children. She admitted that her actions involved physical torture of her son. And I read that plea deal and I wept. I wept for this child and his sister. Forced to do physical tasks, including work outside without shoes. Standing in direct sunlight for long periods of time, being denied water. And Hildebrandt's plea somewhat, pretty closely, I guess I could say, Greg, mirrored Franke's plea. This child, and I believe it was, his sister as well, were just put through all kinds of horrible situations. And now this house goes up for sale, and we don't know why Hildebrandt's listing her home so quickly. I guess we could speculate that perhaps she will need the money to pay some legal fees. I don't know if that's the case, but we are pretty certain they're both going to prison, right, Greg?
Oh, yeah. So that's probably another reason, Debbie, why they would list the home. I mean, I'm looking at the guidelines for each of these women, and it would certainly be in excess of 4 years in prison. They pled to 4 what we call second-degree felonies each. Those carry a 1 to 15-year term, and they have agreed that those would each run consecutive to one another. Now, that means a maximum of, you would think, 60 years. Of course, that's not ever going to happen. And frankly, we don't usually run consecutive sentences more than about 3 deep. So, but still, if you look at the guideline range for each of these counts, it's about 2 years. You run them consecutive, you get an additional time. I'm guessing each of them will do no less than 4 years in prison.
Is there some sort of financial punishment that comes with this guilty plea?
Well, there will certainly be fines, Dave, and there may be restitution. For example, if the children need counseling, which they obviously will, mental health therapy, medical therapy, anything like that, these two would be on the hook for all of that. And I know that may come out of the proceeds of the home, and it may come out of the proceeds of whatever they are able to earn while they're serving their time at the Utah State Penitentiary. But yes, there would be a financial hook to this as well, and it would be in the form of what we call restitution to the children.
Is this separate, or could the children perhaps even sue these women civilly, or does it change because one's a parent?
Kind of both. I mean, you probably could. They probably could. We don't know whether and to what extent the children are going to maybe distance themselves from the mother. They certainly don't have any legal connection or familial connection with the counselor. But with Frankie, she was their mother. She is their mother. We don't usually see cases where children sue their parents, but in this case, the conduct was so outrageous. The alleged conduct was just awful that you could see something like that happening, and maybe the father will sue on behalf of the children.
Do we have to keep using the word alleged if they've entered into a plea deal, Greg? I know that's a term that we use a lot, but haven't they admitted essentially to what they did?
Yeah, you got me. I mean, as soon as I said alleged, I thought,
what?
No,
I didn't mean to catch you. I was just curious. I was like, okay, it seems to me that, and it's very detailed and very, I mean, as you said, just as outrageous, and I just wept for those children as I was reading it. In fact, I can't imagine any child enduring what those children did. And so often, Dave brought this up earlier, and I think it's an excellent point to raise. So often we say, they're going to go away for 4 years, which, I mean, I'm surprised it's only 4 years. If I know the judge can do more when they get sentenced next month. But Dave brought up, so often, people get these long prison terms, and then they walk out of prison like within a few years. Can you explain why?
Well, there's always a chance of parole. And in Utah, we have this indeterminate sentencing system. So these women are pleading to counts that carry 1 to 15 years. So technically, they could serve as little as 1. When I said 4 years, I was looking at the guidelines for this type of crime. My guess is that they will get much more than the guidelines. I mean, the case is so outrageous that I think the Board of Pardons will want to keep them for much more than 4 years. But technically, yes, they could be eligible for parole almost immediately after they get to the prison. Practically, no, they won't. These crimes are so awful, and they've admitted them. They've, like you say, they've confessed to the crime, and so I don't see any reason why the Board of Pardons is going to cut either of them much slack. I think they entered the plea hoping by accepting responsibility and not going to trial and not forcing the kids to testify that they would get a break, and that may well happen, but it's not going to be a significant break.
KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas. Thanks, Greg.
You bet.
Thank you so much, Greg. Straight ahead, the U.S. Senate race here in Utah, it took a turn this week, and it was a turn that I wasn't expecting because I was pretty sure I read that current House Representative John Curtis was going to stay put in the House. And lo and behold, he stops in studio here and he announces that he is going to run for the U.S. Senate. And I asked him, I said, well, what about former Speaker of the House here in Utah, Brad Wilson, who's already announced he's running for Senate? Have you called him?
He's understandably very grumpy with me, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I need to be careful.
Well, next, we're going to ask Brad Wilson himself. Are you grumpy with Representative John Curtis now that he's put his hat in the ring for U.S. Senate?
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hi, Doug Wright, and hopefully you're one of the lucky people who got a gift certificate or a gift card for Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. It's time to cash that thing in. You know, my son and I, every year, we have a little contest, who reads the most books, and the stakes are literally steaks. I asked Ian, because he won this year, I said, okay, where do you want to go get your steak? And he goes, come on, Dad, you know where. And of course, it's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. It is the best steak you are ever going to have, and it's waiting for you at 2 locations, Hotel Park City and downtown Salt Lake City. Think of all the great things that are going on in downtown Salt Lake City right now. Make dinner at Ruth's Chris part of your evening. And then, of course, up in the mountains right now, it's time to go skiing. And the perfect place for après-ski, enjoying that amazing meal, is right there at Hotel Park City. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, the best steak you have ever had, is waiting for you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
My little brother's friends have been camped out at our place for 2 days straight. 3. It's because of the Xfinity 10G network. Internet that can handle a house full of screens at once, with basically no interruptions. And it's only getting faster. When I was their age, internet like this was a pipe dream.
You sound like my grandpa.
Please go home.
The next generation 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through March 21st, new customers can get 1.2 gigabit internet on the Xfinity 10G network for just $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Go to Xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless plan and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and I'm proud to tell you we don't lay off employees when things get tough. During the pandemic, we didn't let one of our installers go. Instead, we had them clean and remodel our offices so they could still get paid. Remember the 2008 housing crisis? It was a financial nightmare for even the biggest contractors. Still, we didn't lay off a single worker. Nope, we sacrificed profits to keep paying everyone. Look, when the economy's down, most contractors are quick to lay off their workers. It's the easiest way to save money when times get tight. But at RGS Exteriors, we're loyal to our people. You know why? Because it's the right thing to do. People first. People always. That's the RGS way. For gutters, siding, windows, and more, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com, 801-280-3110.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails with feedback from customers. Here's one. Dear Dan, I just had the best experience ever. I bought a computer from Shane at your State Street store. I asked several what I thought were really stupid questions. Shane was super courteous and made me feel comfortable through the whole process. People need to understand how important it is to support a local company, especially when your experience is so good. PC Laptops really does love me. Signed, Satisfied. I love hearing feedback like that. It really just gives me the chills. It's the whole reason why I got into the computer business in the first place. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop, and they start at only $29 a month. And it comes with a lifetime warranty. That means if anything goes wrong, we're going to take care of you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. At PC Laptops, we really do love you.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, snow is coming down and the totals are up. You can expect 2 to 6 inches in the valley. Second, the snowfall will increase avalanche danger. The Utah Avalanche Center says to check the forecast before going out. And third, the U.S. added 260,000 jobs last month. Unemployment stayed the same at 3%. Right now in downtown Salt Lake City, we do have some snow and 33 degrees. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Who told me to say this? The candidates for the U.S. Senate, out of Utah anyway, We're starting to pack them in like sardines. Is that your line, Dave?
No, it's a good line.
That's a good line. It is. It is. I mean, they're lining up. And we think there's going to be more people announcing potentially for U.S. Senate. But John Curtis announced his run for Senate this week after going back and forth on the decision. And he joined us right here on the show.
And I told a friend, there is 0.0000001 chance I will actually do this. And then sure enough, I ended up doing it.
And you know what? It's a race. I have no problem. If everyone wants to run, that's great. I think the pause I had with Curtis is he wrote an op-ed, published it in the Deseret News that said, you know what, I thought about it. I was tempted to run for the Senate, but I feel like I have some unfinished business in the House. So when we saw him file, I'm like, well, that's a flip-flop. That's a world-class flip-flop. Now, he's explained it. I get it. That's kind of fun, but if I'm everybody else, I'm thinking, you just said you weren't running.
And if you're Brad Wilson, former Speaker of the House here in Utah, longtime lawmaker, I asked John Curtis this, Brad. I said, had he reached out to you about his run? And here's what he said.
He's understandably very grumpy with me, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I need to be careful.
Okay. We'll let you put words in your own mouth, Speaker Wilson. Are you grumpy about his run for the Senate?
Hey, good morning, you guys. It is so good to be back with you on this snowy Friday. It's so good to see the snow.
Yeah.
You know, this election is going to be interesting. We've got a lot of folks that are going to be in it. I've been working on this. I started my exploratory committee last April, and you know, I've been traveling the state, Deb, and what people have been telling me over and over again is they want someone that's got experience leading in Utah to go back and make D.C. look a lot more like Utah and fix the mess that's back there. And, you know, if people want to jump in this race, they're more than welcome to. It doesn't make me grumpy. Our state just needs to have someone back in D.C. that's going to go fight for our conservative values, and that's why I'm running.
There's so much that's going on right now, and I think, you know, having worked on a very granular state level, I mean, the kind of laws that pass that will affect us in our day-to-day lives, you start talking about federal laws. There's that separation, and I think, how's that going to feel being removed from the constituents that you are so closely working for? It feels like a lot of the federal stuff that passes anymore is so removed that we just don't feel it.
Well, I think that's true. And part of what's happening right now, Dave, back in D.C. is you've got inaction on things that really matter. I mean, look at what's happening with the border right now. The border is wide open. Nothing's being done to fix that issue. People want solutions to that. Look at what's happening with all this spending in D.C. People know that spending has caused all this inflation that's hurting you. It's hurting my family. They want that to stop. And what I'm excited about, the opportunity is we know how government works here. We balance our budget. We solve hard problems. We work together. And having someone back in D.C. with that Utah experience, I think, is going to serve our state and our country really well.
Longtime Utah lawmaker and former Speaker of the Utah House of Representatives, live on the line, Brad Wilson, now a candidate for the United States Senate. I don't even know what to call you anymore. Candidate Wilson?
Brad.
Okay, because I'm like, I want to call you Speaker just out of full respect for the office that you held. So Brad, which feels, I was just going to say awkward for me to call you Brad, but Brad, we spoke with Celeste yesterday, Representative Celeste Malloy. She was just back from the southern border. She went to Eagle Pass, Texas, with dozens of other representatives, Republican representatives, along with House Speaker Mike Johnson. She called the show.
A partisan issue in that part of Texas. You know, Republican, Democrat, recent immigrants, everybody's had it. Their systems are overwhelmed, and that is what I saw there.
And she called us and talked to us about her experience at the border with the other Republicans who went. But it sounds like everybody is still in search of really good solutions, and this is not a one-size-fits-all. There are a lot of problems, not only with work visas, but with asylum. We heard stories of people waiting, 8 years to get a hearing so they can enter the country legally or stay here. What's your solution? And even if it's just a small solution to this very big problem, I think we need to start hearing some solutions.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something that's happening right now. The Biden administration is actually suing and telling the Border Patrol down in Texas to remove the wall that Texas has put up. These are the kinds of things that make no sense, Deb. We've got to have a secure border. And when you've got states that are standing up and saying the federal government is failing, so we're going to start taking the lead, and the federal government comes in and starts to wash away that work, we're never going to get any progress made on getting legal immigration, helping people get here the right way when our borders are wide open. And that's what's happening right now. You've got to secure that border. And that means keeping the walls we have, building new walls, and using technology to make sure that the border is secure. And it's something that can be done. And then you lean into this process of how do we get people here the right way. We do. We're a country that loves immigrants, but we've taken this problem and just made it worse and worse.
One thing that stood out to me recently was House Speaker Mike Johnson said the $14 billion that they want to send down to Border Patrol, he's like, they don't need the money. And I think the point he's trying to make is they don't need to process. They don't need to get people in quicker and more effectively. They need to close things off. Would you support sending additional funding or even billions of dollars down to the border, or does it just need to be closed off with the money they have?
Well, our resources and our attention need to be focused on closing the border right now. And then there also needs to be something done to figure out who is in this country. You've got drug cartels, you've probably got terrorists, you've got all these groups that are here. We've got to figure out who's here and make sure that those people leave this country. We've got to get them back to the places that they belong. But this is going to be, it's really sad, Dave, because we had basically a secure border. Back in, I think it was 2017 or 2018, we had 200,000+ people, we think, cross the border illegally. Last year, 2.5 million. Think
7-8
about the magnitude
times.
of that.
It's enormous.
And so that's got to be fixed. And we need leadership that's going to help make that happen.
Well, Brad Wilson, thank you for joining us. Candidate for U.S. Senate, and as you can hear, not grumpy. That's a non-grumpy Brad Wilson. Not that we've ever had a grumpy Brad Wilson. Maybe one time.
Thanks, Brad. Good to talk to you. Thanks for being part of our inaugural Friday show right here on KSL News Radio. Well, technically, it's the race for first place, but right now in the GOP, it looks like everyone not named Donald Trump is battling for second place. Guess what's happening to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in the polls? We're going to tell you next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. Utah's ski resorts hoping for as much snow as possible with this storm. KSL News Radio's Michael Commett has more.
The resorts have been carrying on despite the rough snowpack. Ski Utah's communications director, Allison Palmentier, tells KSL at night snowmaking and a slew of other snow activities has kept things going.
Even with people hearing about these lower snowpack numbers, the skiing really still is great here in Utah. We're lucky to have it and obviously lucky to have these world-class resorts in our backyard.
Palmentier says what snow we have seen is still in abundance for the resorts. Michael Commett, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The U.S. economy added 216,000 jobs in the month of December, and that was strong enough to affect a possible decision on interest rates by the Federal Reserve. Here's ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
If job and wage growth continue to be stronger than expected, the Fed could hold off on those rate cuts until later in the year. This, of course, matters if you're trying to buy a new car or a new home. The cost of mortgage rates just ticked up slightly to 6.62%. And that was a little bit higher than it was before. Putting that into dollar terms, your monthly payment now about $2,500. A little bit less than earlier in the fall, but still more than last year.
And your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up, but just a little. 4 points is all on the day. The NASDAQ is up 57 points right now. And our KSL weather, lots more snow on the way. That's next. KSL News, 10:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Believe it or not, most small businesses don't have a 401k. If you don't have a 401k, you are missing out on the greatest wealth creation tool ever created. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and many 401ks are overpriced for the employer, have expensive and underperforming investment options, and have tedious administrative provisions. Not at Trajan Wealth. We can set up a 401k for a company for only $9 per employee, a $29 per plan fee, plus a small advisory fee. Not thousands or even the tens of thousands you've been quoted. And do it all in less time than it takes to sit in traffic. 401ks will help you attract and retain top talent, and we can do it all for a couple $100. If you're an employee and don't have a 401k, tell your boss. Call Trajan Wealth today. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Services offered through a third-party partner.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
If there's a problem during your siding, gutter, or window installation project, most contractors will try to hide it, ignore it, or blame someone else. It's called passing the buck or turning a blind eye, or my favorite, finger pointing. My question is, where is the accountability? Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and look, sometimes problems just happen, no matter who you hire. Maybe the wrong color siding gets delivered, despite the order being placed perfectly, or maybe a downspout gets cut short. Honestly, it could be anything. At RGS Exteriors, mistakes are rare, but if something goes wrong, I can absolutely, positively, 100% guarantee you we'll never hide it, and we'll never pass the buck. We'll make certain everything turns out right for you. That's people over profits. That's the RGS Exteriors way. For a free estimate on siding, gutters, or windows, call 801-280-3110, rgsexteriors.com, rgsexteriors.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with Dino Pay. Here's Aubrey Withridge.
Well, right now, if you're on I-15 between Provo and Willard Bay up in Ogden area, things are looking pretty good there. It is snowy, so just take caution, but you are at good speeds, have no delays between there. If you are on 215's east or west side belt, both of those looking great. If you're in the canyons, though, it's a little bit of a different story. Ogden Canyon is closed right now due to the weather, and Provo Canyon has a couple of crashes in it, one at Vivian Park and one a little bit further up if you're on the east side of Deer Creek Reservoir. Reservoir, you're going to run into that. It looks like you're having slowing in both directions there. I'm Aubrey Withrich in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our KSL weather looks like we'll see snow continuing off and on. Tomorrow looks cloudy and dry for the first part of the day, then snow will increase by the evening. And right now, 34 degrees with a snow shower. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
New year, new KSL movie show. Now you can listen when you're running errands at lunch. This is Andy Farnsworth, and I'm joined by Steve Sales for all the week's biggest movies and shows, 11 to 1 on KSL News Radio.
It's finally Friday, and this is Dave and Dujanovic. Conversation and insights on the stories Utahns care about most. It's Friday on KSL News Radio.
And for our first Friday show ever, here's our top political story.
America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
It is a battle for second place right now, really, in the Republican race for the primary. But it's interesting because as one candidate is surging, another continues the slow sled. Crash. Ron DeSantis going straight downhill. And Nikki Haley going up in the polls. I want to lay this out for you, Dave, and get your reaction. In a recent poll in Iowa, Trump is still leading with 37% of the vote. Now, he's been way out ahead of the pack, right? Yeah. It's Nikki Haley who's taken over second place with 16%. And DeSantis, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is heavily supported by numerous Republicans here in the state of Utah, he keeps going down and down and down. He's at 9% right now.
Now, this poll is obviously bad news for Ron DeSantis, but the most surprising poll to me is what is happening in New Hampshire.
Oh, what do you
so
got on that?
This we were talking about is Iowa's polls.
Right.
It shows that Haley's doing well. In New Hampshire, she is doing phenomenally well. Donald Trump's still at that 37%. Nikki Haley is at 33%, just 4 points different.
Does that surprise you?
Oh, I could not believe it. I had to check it 2 or 3 times because all of a sudden, whenever we've seen polls, Donald Trump has been leading, has enormous leads, 30, 40, even 50-point leads. This is the first time I saw the lead down to single digits. And if it's only 4 points, she might win New Hampshire.
Now, we'll know about Iowa in a little more than a week.
Yeah.
Because the Iowa caucuses are on the 15th of January. And then comes New Hampshire. If Haley does well in New Hampshire, I think it's look out, Donald Trump. She's coming for you. And if DeSantis does not do well in Iowa or New Hampshire, I'm not so sure he can hold water anymore, Dave. And
well,
go ahead.
He has spent so much time and effort in Iowa. He's visited every, they call it the full Grassley. Chuck Grassley's the senator there. He visits every single county in the state, and he's done that. DeSantis has visited every county in the state.
I thought he was exceptionally strong, probably in the best form I've seen him on stage, on camera, last night on CNN's Town Hall. Honestly, watched a large portion of it, and quite frankly, it's the most impressive DeSantis has been, in my view. They asked him specifically about criticism of Donald Trump, and I was surprised he said what he said, and he was as strong as he was on it.
We saw what happened in the midterms in 2022. Remember, they said that this was going to be a red wave. You had a red wave in Iowa and Florida because Governor Reynolds led and because I led, and we won historic victories. The rest of the Republicans in the Senate and House crashed and burned. Donald Trump's candidates, hand-picked candidates, lost because the Democrats have a playbook that they can run. It was effective in 2018, it was effective in 2020, 21, 22, and even this year in 2023. So don't repeat that. The Democrats want Trump to be the candidate. They are going to talk about all the legal stuff, January 6th. That will be what the election will be about. You don't want it to be a referendum on Trump and the past. You want it to be a referendum on Biden's failures.
That was powerful to me. Now, Nikki Haley had a town hall as well on CNN, and she her criticism of Trump was not nearly what Ron DeSantis's was.
I personally think President Trump was the right president at the right time. I agree with a lot of his policies. But the reality is, rightly or wrongly, chaos follows him.
She said that a number of times, though. She took that one out of the playbook. She ripped it out of a previous debate. I've heard it a number of times. So that was nothing new and, quite frankly, flat.
Yeah.
Fell flat. I thought DeSantis was much stronger last night. Utah County Commissioner Amelia Powers Gardner. Are you one of the Republicans who threw their support early on behind DeSantis and signed that letter or something to him asking him to run in 2022? I can't remember if your name was on that list, Amelia.
Yeah, I did sign the letter encouraging to run. And now, when he came to the state and there was a whole bunch of lawmakers in the Gold Room, I wasn't there then, but I was early in encouraging him to run and did sign that letter.
So, what do you think about his run so far?
I think you guys actually did a great job summarizing it. I like Ron DeSantis' leadership style. I think he's led very well in Florida. But I think nationally, and the polls show this, what we're finding is that the one that can beat Biden is Nikki Haley.
Are you disappointed you came out so soon? I mean, this is like in 2022 that I think almost 100 Republicans got on the bandwagon to push him to run. Are you disappointed? Was that just too soon? Should you have waited a little bit?
No, I think at the time we needed to show that the Republican Party was bigger than just Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump did a great job as president, but I agree with Nikki Haley there that he was the man at the time. I think the Republican Party is a lot bigger than Donald Trump, and I don't feel bad about encouraging somebody else, another strong Republican, to run, because that's how we find the great candidates, right? Is looking at good leaders and asking them to put their name forward, and then we vet them.
Has Utah shifted? Have they moved on from Ron DeSantis? Do you think the rallying cry is around Nikki Haley now?
I do. I think the momentum is building around Nikki Haley. I think Nikki Haley aligns really well with Utah values. Ron DeSantis, he did come out swinging, and he is a hard hitter. But sometimes, particularly the independent crowd, sometimes they don't like a hard hitter. Sometimes they just want someone who can, be diplomatic and get things done. You can't win an election in this country without winning independent votes. Donald Trump didn't win the first time without independents, and Joe Biden didn't win without independents. And so we need somebody that can hold Republican values and Republicans can get behind, but that can also appeal to independents. That's our largest growing political faction in Utah, is the unaffiliated.
Amelia, I wonder, and we're almost up against time. We're going to speak with the leader of the Republican Party in just a few minutes more about this. But I just wonder if perhaps Ron DeSantis sparkled during COVID for a lot of people, conservatives. He pushed to reopen schools. He fought back against mask mandates. He went toe-to-toe with even the cruise lines to get people back on, cruises and all that. So I just wonder if he was a shining star in the Republican Party during COVID, but the reality of it is we're not in COVID anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a good example. I mean, that's why he hit everybody's radar. At the time, I mean, Nikki Haley wasn't necessarily in the spotlight because she wasn't actively in an elected office, and he was. Right. So he was in elected office and he was in a position of authority where he could push back at those things. But it's important to keep in mind that Nikki Haley's had her turn of pushing back. Remember, she was our ambassador to the UN. She stood strong in support of Israel. She pushed back against the world's biggest dictators like North Korea. She helped negotiate transparency in the budgeting at the UN. I mean, she pushed back on the world stage when she was in that position of authority. And Ron DeSantis did that as governor of Florida during a time when people were looking for someone to lead in that area.
Well, we appreciate you calling in. Amelia Powers Gardner, Utah County Commissioner, but has been very active in Utah politics for a long time. Thank you, Amelia.
Straight ahead, we're going to ask some similar questions of the chair of the Utah GOP, Robert Axsom. He's going to have hopefully that 30,000-foot up view. I want to ask him, does the Republican Party regret all of the endorsements that Ron DeSantis got really early on in the race for the White House, and will they pivot their support to Nikki Haley?
Dave and Dujanovic. We're just days away.
State lawmakers are already hard at work on a number of bills,
making decisions that affect you.
Utah's 2024 legislative session starts in January. Get updates on every bill with Tim and Amanda mornings and Jeff Kaplan afternoons. Eye on the Hill 2024
on KSL News Radio.
You know, it's hard to believe that Dee and I have now been living in our new house for about 9 years now. You know, the thing that has really surprised me is how many appliances we have had to have work on and even replace. You know, the one that we haven't replaced, haven't done any work on at all, have not had a minute's trouble with, it's the Connecticut soft water system. And it's so interesting because when we were building the home, the builder said, okay, well, what do you want for a water softener? And I just interrupted. I said, wait, we're going to go with Connecticut. And they just smiled at me like, yeah, we know about Connecticut. Never once have we had an issue with our Connecticut soft water system, not only in our new home, but in our previous home as well. It just sits there in the basement, does its job, does it so much more efficiently than any other soft water system out there on the market today. Why don't you give them a call, 801-576-8600, or go to softwaterutah.com.
It's the movie show, guys, live from NPS in Salt Lake City. NPS has 4 locations. We're at one of the 2 Salt Lake stores. There's also one in Orem, one in Layton. This is a great place. Nice place to save is what we like to say it stands for. Julie and Igor, tell us about the deals today. You guys take such good care of KSL and movie show listeners.
Oh, well, Igor, and first of all, I have to tell you, we are so glad to have you back. I know
Thank
it's
you.
the 3rd week in a row.
That's all right. The deals change every day here. So
I just put my car on autopilot. It just comes right here.
So anyway, we're glad to have you back.
So what are our awesome
Igor.
deals for KSL listeners today?
Okay, the deals that we have for the movie show today is selected name brand butter, cheese, and dairy, the whole combo.
Oh.
10% off.
10% off cheese, dairy, and butter, my 3 favorite things.
Yes. All ice cream and frozen novelties, 25% off. Even better.
Igor, why do you do this to me? There are some name brand ice creams that I love to get here, and now it's 25% extra off.
We have all candy 10% off for Steve.
For Steve.
For the pre-diabetic, yeah.
And selected name brand of cookies and crackers 10% off.
See, so we've got through the holidays, but that doesn't mean we should stop tasting delicious treats. I think that's what you're saying, and I like that.
That's right.
Yeah, if you have a sweet tooth, come over to NPS, get great deals today.
I also noticed you
Plus,
guys.
yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, 50% off bedding.
I was going to say 50% off clothing, and I left with a haul of clothing last week at this 50% off sale, so that is an incredible deal. But we want to tell you the locations. If you've never been to NPS, 1600 South Empire Road here in Salt Lake City. If you're in Davis County, driving around in all that slush, 1150 North Main. Go into a nice warm store, do some shopping, save some money. Or in Orem at 475 North State Street in Orem. And remember, the movie show begins in 40 minutes here from NPS.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-859-3220. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 to 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-859-3220. That's 800-859-3220 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-859-3220. 800-859-3220.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the snow we're getting this week is welcome, but Utah's resorts say they were getting by with what we've had. Second, police are investigating a death at a massage parlor in Midvale. Third, the U.S. economy still adding jobs at a strong pace. That could have an impact on the Federal Reserve's plan to cut interest rates. Right now, 34 degrees with a snow shower. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
So this is the headline from just a few months ago. That 86 Utah elected officials had encouraged Ron DeSantis to run for president. When he was here, I think it was last summer, Dave. I remember. Was it July?
Yep.
Wow, time flies. He was endorsed. He was like officially endorsed by.
They had a little straw
numerous-
poll.
Yeah.
And they're like, yep, Ron DeSantis is our guy. And now it's like, not entirely certain he's our guy.
Remind me of the poll that you saw out of New Hampshire, which is coming up right after the Iowa caucuses, and the Iowa caucuses are held January 15th. So we're, maybe less than 10 days out from Iowa. Then comes New Hampshire. What does that poll in New Hampshire say about Nikki Haley?
Well, number one, that Donald Trump is still number one.
Okay.
37% of the vote, which is identical to what his vote is in Iowa right now. Now, what makes it interesting in New Hampshire is that Nikki Haley is just 4 points behind Donald Trump. 4 points is a rounding error. It's a nothing. It's celebration in the streets for the Nikki Haley campaign because that is a game changer. If she is the first person to defeat Donald Trump, because he has had a massive lead, like 30, 40, 50-point lead in the polls. If she defeats him when somebody actually votes in a state that matters, this could be a complete game changer for Nikki Haley.
So DeSantis slipping in the polls, Haley making her way up.
When you have these situations, leaders got to lead, and you got to put politics aside.
But, DeSantis was pretty strong last night on the town hall. I felt like it was the strongest I'd ever seen him in front of the cameras and on a stage. Now, they had separate town halls on CNN. Haley's followed DeSantis' town hall.
How many years have we been talking about the border in various iterations? It's been going on my entire adult life. Isn't it about time we had a president that solved it once and for all? I will solve it.
I could relate to that.
All.
It has been going on my entire adult life, and I worked in Arizona right along the border, right up along. I reported on the border, and so I could relate to that. I think he's coming on strong. Way too late.
Haley has been slowly gaining ground, but she has been red hot. I will say until the last couple of weeks. She's had a few stumbles. She's had a few missteps. And it will be very, very interesting now that she is kind of the second option, how much pressure gets put on her now, and will she be able to handle all the criticism that is going to start coming? And once Donald Trump turns his eyes and his focus onto Nikki Haley and unleashes the Trump attack, which is inevitably coming, will she be able to stand strong?
Chair of the Utah Republican Party, Robert Axsom, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys doing?
Oh, great. So happy to have you here for our first Friday show ever. So thank you so much. It's been a great show. I'm glad you can be a part of it, Robert. Do you think the Republicans who got behind DeSantis here in Utah are regretting that move?
No, I don't think so at all. If you remember the letter that a number of elected officials put out, it was encouraging Governor DeSantis to run. And so I think there's flexibility for them to pivot if they decide to support somebody else. But I think the key piece that they were articulating last summer is the importance of having a public and transparent dialogue of different ideas. And that's where I believe that the Republican Party is quite strong. We have a number of quite compelling candidates with experience and expertise that they get to articulate to voters and try to earn their support. I'm proud of the bench of folks that we have, and I think it elevates the conversation for all of the candidates when you have so many good options before us.
One thing that has shocked me is just how much we have spent talking about the people that are at second, third, fourth, fifth place, and we kind of ignore the guy at the top that is running away with all the polls, so to speak, and that's Donald Trump. How does the Utah GOP, how do they see Donald Trump and the possibility and the probability that he will be the nominee?
Yeah, great question. I think you see numbers that are very similar in other states apply here, that within the Republican Party, you have a contingent who are very supportive and enthusiastic about Donald Trump's likely opportunities for a second term. And you have others that would really like to see a new chapter within the Republican Party. And again, I think that's a healthy part of the process. I'm grateful that no matter whom our nominee is, their opportunity to lead, their opportunity to articulate issues will be improved because of the other challengers to whom they were engaged with, and folks that were, leading on issues that then were earning the attention of Republican voters around the country.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go straight for the win here, Robert. Robert Axsom, chair of the Utah GOP, live on the line as we've looked at the polls, and Ron DeSantis continues his slide, not in a good direction for DeSantis. The goal of the Republican Party collectively has got to be to win the White House.
Correct.
And to me, the best thing the Republican Party can do is put the person who will win the White House hands down on the top of the ticket. They just have to. They can't tap dance around people who have shown, seen in the polls that, may or may not beat Biden. You got to come out with a clear winner. So what's the war room look like right now within the Utah GOP, conference room when it comes to Haley? Because at this point, it does look like she's surging, and polls do show that if she were, if she were up against Biden, she would win.
Yeah, the key thing for us is we will be ready to support whomever our nominee is. And the biggest thing that I want to stress for Utah Republicans is the importance of their participation in our March 5th caucus night, where we will have our presidential preference poll. That's where Utah's voters get to come forward, and Utah Republicans will decide who should we support as a state for the nomination for the Republican Party. And that's where they can voice their opinion, and then that will represent our vote there at the national convention in the summer. And I look forward to supporting whichever candidate Utah Republicans articulate their vote for. And then thereafter, whomever our eventual nominee is, it's imperative for the benefit of Utah's future that we get a Republican in the White House.
Chair of the Utah GOP, Robert Axsom. Thanks.
I don't want to undervalue or undersell the importance of Utah in this. This state does not always necessarily matter when it comes to electoral votes. It just doesn't. But the voice of the Utah Republican Party matters when it comes to who they support. It matters for the conservative values and for what they stand for within the collective Republican Party. That's going to be a very, very important night to watch, March 5th. It's coming up. It's after the Iowa caucus. It's after we'll see what the momentum is for Haley in New Hampshire. But that will be, I think, a very, very pivotal moment. And I'll tell you what, if you're one of those candidates, you want to be here.
It's Super Tuesday, right? I mean,
you want to be. Well, at some point between now and then, you want to be in Utah.
Yeah. And it will be very interesting to see if Nikki Haley does make a stop. I think it would be very smart.
She
Obviously,
should.
She's making a lot of decisions, just Iowa and New Hampshire, everything on the East Coast. But eventually, if you can start peeling off some of these states that have already shown that they have kind of this mixed relationship with Donald Trump, you could gain some momentum here. But again, the last couple of weeks have not been easy for Nikki Haley. She's stumbled a couple of different times. And it's very easy when you're the underdog story, the Cinderella story, whatever it might be. It's very easy to kind of surge. But when you're the front runner and all eyes are on you and all the criticism is on you, then that really tests your mettle.
Dave and I now here every single Friday. So we're now on Monday through Friday, Dave and Dujanovic show live on KSL News Radio. Friday we're on from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Movie show starts at 11 a.m. And in just a few minutes, we're also going to look ahead to the big story of the day and of the weekend, the snowfall, next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Police investigating after a body was found at a massage parlor. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
The Unified Police Department got a phone call about a suspicious circumstance at the A-Plus massage parlor in Midvale. When police arrived, they found a dead body inside. The two people in the building were detained and are being questioned. The identity of the body has not been released. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Former Salt Lake City Council member accused of drunk driving has taken a plea deal. Amy Nicole Fowler pleaded guilty to driving while impaired after she was pulled over last spring. She was sentenced to a year of probation, fined $1,400, and has to attend an alcohol and drug education program. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Early in the COVID pandemic, people were using an anti-malaria drug to treat it. Hydroxychloroquine was even recommended by President Trump. Now a study out of France says almost 17,000 people died after using the drug. Their mortality rate from COVID was 11% higher than the general population. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average has slipped into negative territory now, down on the day 86 points. The NASDAQ still up about 14 points right now. And our KSL weather, here comes a snowy weekend. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Introducing Yes, Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. We're bringing all of Utah's favorite HVAC, plumbing, and electrical brands under one roof. Maximize your energy savings with a new energy-efficient heating and cooling system from Yes, and you could save up to $4,500 through possible tax credits and other discounts. Purchase a new system today, and Yes will buy back your old inefficient HVAC system. Visit theyesmancan.com to schedule your appointment. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
It's the movie show, guys, live at NPS Store. We're at their Salt Lake location at 1600 South Empire Roads, just west of Redwood Road in Salt Lake City. They've got 4 locations, including the industrial store, which has some amazing things like sporting goods, mattresses, just about everything you can imagine. If they don't have it here on the grocery side, they've got it on the industrial side.
Just when you think you don't want it, there it is.
Exactly. And they've got some amazing specials today. Igor's here to tell us what are the grocery specials, because these are awesome deals. They always take care of the movie show and take care of KSL listeners. Igor?
Yes, I'm going to get you. Right now, I don't have the produce that we have. We have amazing deals. I do know that we got a load of cherries.
Yes.
And you will see customers. Every customer is going to have cherries in their shopping baskets.
Did I hear your jalapenos are like
yes,
otherworldly?
Yes, I'm going to get you the prices. Just give me a minute.
But we already know that ice cream is 25% off, and that's the one that matters.
Yes. And candy, 10% off, and the brand, name brand cookies and crackers, 10% off. Julie told me to get some of the prices because...
Yeah.
Yes, but I think it's worth saying...
We just need to know. I want the customers out there to know exactly what our price is with the 25% off.
I see. That's a good idea.
If people don't know about NPS, they don't know that they're already marked.
You've already
below.
started at a lower price than at
price.
the grocery store, and this is an additional 15, 20, 10% off of what that already low price is. So you can get your grocery shopping for, a fourth of what you were, or half of what you might pay at the grocery store. I've always said it's great to come to NPS before you make your grocery run in any given week. Get anything off your list that you can at the better price, and then go get whatever you don't find at the regular grocery store.
Yeah,
but guess
that's
what?
a smart way to do
it's
it.
not just grocery. You guys have deals on stuff here on the retail portion as well.
Oh, we do. And our inventory changes every day. So you
snooze, you lose. So
we have people that come every single day.
So come on down to one of the 4 locations: Salt Lake, Layton, and Orem. NPS, a nice place to save.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair. Save up to 20 cents with DinoPay. Here's Aubrey Withridge.
Right now, if you're on I-15 between Willard Bay and Utah Lake, that's looking pretty good. There is still snow falling out there, so just slow down your speed and take it easy. Keep the roads clear as they are right now. And if you're on 215's east or west side belt, both of those are looking good. We do have a different story in the canyons right now. They are pretty snowy. Ogden Canyon is closed due to the weather, and chains or four-wheel drive are required to go up Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon. And we do have a crash up by Deer Creek Reservoir. This is on the east side of it on US 189. Just watch out for that if you are traveling through there. I'm Aubrey Withrich in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Today's storm expected to bring 1 to 2 inches of snow to the valleys of the Wasatch Front, 5 to 10 inches in our mountains. Another storm moving in Saturday night will bring 1 to 4 inches of snow to the valleys and up to 16 inches in the mountains. And right now we're at 33 degrees with light snow. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The movie show is a Friday tradition, and it still is. Make sure you're listening for the new KSL movie show after Dave and Dujanovic. We have our favorite movies and a few stinkers. 11 this morning on KSL News Radio.
It's finally Friday, and this is Dave and Dujanovic. Conversation and insights on the stories Utahns care about most. It's Friday on KSL News Radio. Weekend Update with Dave and Dujanovic.
It's so great to be here on Fridays. This is our very first Friday show. From now on, Monday through Friday, you can catch us weekdays starting at 9 a.m. And then a cool thing about being on Fridays, Dave, is so often we'd be like, oh, we really want to look ahead to the big story of the weekend. And we're going to do that in just a few moments because the big story of the weekend and into next week is going to be the weather.
Yeah, the weather has been, obviously, this is not news. It has been terrible for us. No water, no snow, very little. And we're getting a little bit of a taste of it right now. We do expect a little more weather coming in around
right around
11
lunch
o'clock.
Hour. Yeah, right about the time Andy hits the airwaves. He's waiting on the line, so he's going to give us the skinny on what he's going to be looking at in the movie show in just a few moments. But we also have a lot of pretty big events going on, so you're going to definitely want to keep it, right here at KSL News Radio to check traffic and weather throughout the weekend. We got the home show. It's starting this afternoon down at the Mountain America Expo Center. I absolutely love going to the home show. It runs through Sunday, so you can check that out. Hopefully a little better weather to get there over the weekend than there will be today. The storm's supposed to hit between 11 and 1 o'clock again today. If you're in the Ogden area, historic 25th Street walking tour tonight. It would be kind of cool to go on a walking, literally cool, like chilly cool. So yeah, no matter what your plans are, make sure you bring the big coats with you. And then in Utah Valley, we've got the 37th Annual Spiritual and Religious Art Festival down there. So lots of fun things. And hey, you may even want to catch a movie, right, Andy? You got some good stuff for us lined up when you launch the all-new movie show at 11 o'clock this morning?
Well, I've got some stuff.
It's not all
not
good?
sure that
no.
our big movie of the week was just a total stinker for me,
no.
I thought.
Night Swim? Are you talking about Night Swim?
I'm talking about
Dave
Night
knows
Swim.
what it is.
Way to lead off with a big one.
I'm just going to
Hi,
say,
Steve.
Hi.
It was not very good. That's
Okay,
all
I don't care
I've
if
got
it's
more
good.
thoughts on that.
I
No.
care if it's
not
scary.
good in no, it's not even that. And I don't like horror movies, and I try not.
I tried not to laugh.
There was like
Really.
2 jump scares. There were like 2 jump scares.
Steve, you feel the same way about it?
It has issues, yes, big issues. Mostly water and everything in it.
I'll tell you what, the trailer made for a nice little horror movie. The full-length movie, not so much.
Well,
Poor Wyatt Russell. Oh, man.
I'm still stuck in Barbie movie mode. I just literally watched the Barbie movie again for the third time.
Well, welcome to July of 2023.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I've seen it twice in the theaters, and I watched it. You know what? I didn't have any fantastic New Year's Eve plans, so thanks for making fun of me, Andy. I decided to stick it out at home and watch
Sorry, you made it sound like you were watching it for the first time.
No. So, are there any kind of good leftover movies
There
that you're
are,
recommending
and-
for the weekend?
You know, theatrically, this is not a week where the studios are keeping their prized movies to release. This is one where it's like, these are movies we got to release sometime to fulfill contracts. So,
but honestly, the best one is Society of the Snow.
Yes, and
on
that's
Netflix.
On Netflix, and that one is. It's one of those movies that it's such a serious subject matter. It's about the the Uruguayan rugby team that crash landed in the Andes in 1972.
And they made a movie about it a few years ago called Alive.
Right.
That starred Ethan Hawke and Josh. I forget
And
the other Josh.
It's clown shoes compared to this.
Yes, because first of all, they actually use South American actors and actual native South Americans to play the roles who were native South Americans instead of Americans pretending to be Uruguayan. But it's one of those. This one's famous for one reason, and we'll talk about it on the movie show.
Okay.
But they don't sensationalize the thing that it's probably most people's. The reason that people have heard of this was because at some point when they were starving, they had to figure out how they were going to stay alive on the mountain.
Right.
But they don't.
What a moral dilemma that they handled so beautifully.
So well. And the sound in the movie. We've got a lot of good stuff to say about that one. But that one's on streaming, so.
Which is great. If it's snowing, maybe want to stay in with the family and catch something if it's appropriate, age appropriate or whatever. You guys will explain all that on the movie show. So that's awesome. I'm so glad you're looking at, what's streaming too, because so often I'm just not up to go sit in a movie theater by myself, guys. So.
Well, and we even have a streaming show that has a Utah tie that we're going to talk about called Daughters of the Cult.
Wow.
Which is about the Ervil LeBaron family, which, if you'll recall, one of the people that was killed was a doctor in Murray in 1977. And so,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it's intense.
That does. It seems like those are both right up my alley. And so I'm looking forward to listening to you guys today at 11.
All right. Well, we'll be here. We're antsy and ready.
Yeah.
Dave's got a question.
Well,
okay.
I was wondering, is there anything in the movie theaters, or is Night Swim the only one?
No, there's also a movie called Mayhem, which is like a martial arts blood fest.
Yeah, it's sort of a revenge film. You've got my daughter, I'm going to come get you kind of movie.
We've got Race for Glory, Audi versus Lancia. I didn't get to see that one, Steve, but you did.
Yeah, it's not as good as I was hoping. Foe, did you like Foe?
That one's going to Amazon Prime.
That's right, not theatrical. That's right.
And
Weak Layers, the last 10 minutes was good.
There's a Ski Bum movie. It's kind of a throwback to the Ski Bum comedies of the 90s.
Ski Patrol nonsense from years ago.
But,
what about Wonka? Did you guys see Wonka?
Yes, we loved Wonka.
You did, both of you.
That was one of our favorites. And that's what I was about to say, Deb. But we're at the week now where the studios are like, hey, we really want you to see the movies we released a couple weeks ago. So
I need a tax break.
So
we do have to release this to theaters, so we're putting it in a week where people aren't really looking.
Okay, so big no on Night Swim.
They said it hadn't been used in 15 years. Maybe they weren't pool people.
Wow. Big no on Night Swim. There you have it.
Okay, quick question. Which was the worst movie, Night Swim or Megan, when it comes to horror movies?
I loved Megan. I thought Megan was awesome. And I hate horror, but I enjoyed the heck out of Megan.
Yeah, Megan's 10 times better than this movie.
Yes, and it's from the same place. Blumhouse actually does some pretty decent horror.
Yeah, but sometimes they throw out some stuff you're like, dude, what are you thinking?
Well, this is probably
one of those
that category.
All right. Well, we look forward to listening to you two over the lunch hour. Thanks so much, Steve Sales, Andy Farnsworth, hosts of The Movie Show. The Movie Show lives on big time. We're so excited that we're just like leading up to The Movie Show. It's been a staple here at KSL News Radio for a very, very long time. So 11 to 1, the now new time slot for The Movie Show.
They make a great point, and this is something that's very important when they're releasing movies. There are off weeks. There are weeks that are purposely off weeks because they want to give more. The studios want to give more time to the higher theatrical ones like Wonka or Boys in the Boat. They want to have more run. If they cycle it too quickly, people are like, "Oh, I've already moved on from Wonka." So they sent out a terrible horror movie.
Did you see Wonka?
I haven't seen Wonka yet.
Okay, well, that could be on your list of things to do this weekend. And let me know how it is. And then if you like it, I'll go see it. We're so excited to be here with you every single Friday starting at 9 a.m., the all-new Friday version of the Dave and Dujanovic Show. Now we're on Monday through Fridays. And we thought, you know what? Every single Friday we want to do something that you kind of take your mind off the weekend and give you the scoop on what's ahead on the weekend in terms of big news stories. So you'll know what's coming at you. And this weekend, it'll definitely be the snow. That's next.
Climb out in the well,
Mission to town, celebrity hesitation. Bring me a car, I'll stick with you. I'll stick with you. I'll stick with you.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And did you know that we get a bunch of service calls per year from people who didn't even hire us? That means they originally hired someone else to replace their siding, gutters, and windows. Then later, when a problem popped up, they tried to call their contractor back to fix it, only to find out that the contractor has ceased to exist. They're gone, done, out of business. At RGS Exteriors, we've been serving Utah for 70 years. As a fifth-generation owned contractor, we've got customers who are the grandkids of our customers we had in the 1950s and 60s. We're not going anywhere. We will be here when you need us, period. For siding, gutters, and windows, now and forever, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit at rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
It's the movie show, guys, live at NPS, a nice place to save. 4 locations, 2 in Salt Lake, 1 in Orem, 1 in Layton. We are at the store at 1600 South Empire Road. And NPS sells brand new products at incredibly low prices. For your retail stuff, Julie, who owns NPS, you get amazing deals, and then you pass the savings on to the customer because you mark at the base is 30 to 70% off what you'd pay at the other retail stores. And then you guys are so great, you throw sales on top of that.
That's right. We're trying to make it a win-win for everyone.
I got a $1,200 price tag suit for 1/4 of that cost. And this is a name brand suit. It required the tailoring of the cuff at the bottom. Wow. It was an amazing deal. These are the kind of deals. Right now you have 50% off clothing and clothing accessories. Come and check out the suits if you need a suit.
I know. And they were pretty, and they're very pretty suits.
And you helped me to find, you want to
look pretty. So.
You were my judge. I said, how does this look?
Pretty for
handsome.
Me. Good. Handsome. Yeah.
If you have a missionary going out, come over and check the prices on the suit.
Exactly, because you'll get. This is not. This is name brand new stuff. And today we got some great grocery deals as well. And you did bring over some things, Igor. So tell us some of the prices.
Okay, so we have here. We cannot say the brand, but you can see what it is.
Oh yeah,
you got the. How many pounds is it?
It's the 5 pounds.
The 5-pound block of American cheese. I love American cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's usually, and I kid you not, when I get at the grocery store, it's anywhere from $11 to $14 for the 5-pound block. $7.99 here at NPS.
And on top of that, 10% off because of the movie show today.
Oh. So it's not even $7.99.
It's not even
it's
$7.99.
Even cheaper. A name brand butter.
Ooh, whipped salted butter.
This is delicious if you like it.
Yeah.
And this one is the 8-ounce, $1.99.
$1.99 for an 8-ounce tub of butter. I see you have some cinnamon sugar butter, which tastes great on my famous scones when they melt. What an awesome deal. 10% off that as well. 4 locations, 2 in Salt Lake, 1 in Orem, 1 in Layton. NPS, a nice place to save.
It seems like everywhere you look right now, someone is sick. This year, prepare your family for airborne invaders like bacteria, pollen, and yes, germs with Navage Nasal Care. Navage flushes ultra-pure, refreshing saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out of the other nostril. Navage sucks out viruses, dust, and other airborne particles, all the stuff that gets trapped in your nose, making you miserable. Don't get caught empty-handed this winter. Get Navage, the drug-free solution that helps you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier. Even better, Navage is HSA, FSA eligible, so Navage is a great way to spend those funds before they expire. Don't wait a minute longer. Buy Navage today and you'll breathe easier knowing you're putting your funds to good use. Navage is available online at Navage.com or Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, police are investigating a body found at a massage parlor in Midvale. Second, a new medical study shows people who took hydroxychloroquine as a remedy for COVID died at a rate 11% higher than the general population. And third, the government's warning about weight loss scams as we get into the new year. Right now, 33 degrees and snow in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
The big story coming up with Dave and Dujanovic.
The big story the weekend ahead is going to be the snowfall. We already got some this morning. We're expecting another round in just the next few minutes to last a few hours. And we've got the National Weather Service live on the line with us, Dave, to give our listeners the scoop on what's ahead today, tomorrow, Saturday. Well, tomorrow is Saturday now that we're here on Fridays. Right?
Let's be honest.
I'm not used to it.
It's a little different for us.
No,
we're
it's
happy.
totally weird.
We love our job.
We've
we
been
love
off
working
on
on
Fridays for years, and we're so grateful that
It's
we're
been
now
6 years.
for years. We're so grateful now Monday through Friday, so just bear with me as I get my bearings and remind myself that this is Friday. So glad to be with you. And so glad that Christine Cruz, the lead meteorologist at the National Weather Service here in Salt Lake City, is live on the line with walk us through. This is great news. I woke up to snowfall this morning. It wasn't exactly fun driving in, but we made it. So what do we expect this afternoon, Christine, and into the weekend?
Sure, and thanks for inviting me to talk to you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like we're going to be having snow on and off through the day today. And especially on our benches in Salt Lake County up towards Weber and Davis counties, we could see the snow continue into the evening, and that may present some winter driving conditions for the Friday evening commute. So people should be prepared that it might be a little bit slippery when they're driving home this evening.
Christine, at no point did I hear you say the words Snowmageddon.
No, that's not a word I normally talk about. But, you know, we were in that pattern with high pressure for quite a while, and we've had such a hard turn into this cold, stormy pattern, and it's going to get a lot colder. Potentially, there's some indications that we could even see temperatures in the single digits, perhaps below zero, by the time we get to not this weekend, but next weekend.
Yikes.
So that's something that we're monitoring. But we do have several storms in the forecast.
So Saturday looks like what?
So Saturday evening is when it looks like that next storm should start. We should start to see snow. Because we're going to be colder, we're going to be below freezing. Any snow that falls is going to accumulate rapidly Saturday night into Sunday morning. So if anyone's going to be out Saturday night, Sunday morning, they should be prepared for widespread winter driving conditions.
And how long do we expect that thing to linger?
So for parts of the Wasatch Front, especially if we're able to tap into the Great Salt Lake, it looks like it could go into early Monday morning.
So our Monday morning commute might be messy?
It's something to keep an eye on. It's not a given right now. That's still quite a ways away, but if people should continue to monitor the forecast through the weekend so they can be prepared if it will impact the Monday morning commute.
I just want to know if on Sunday I have to remind myself of what the track schedule is for Monday morning, because I do not want to be driving in like we were last year, storm after storm after storm. How much snowfall total in the mountains are we looking at, Christine?
So each of these storms looks like somewhere, 1 to 2 feet of snow. That's a good average, and it just depends on how some of those details come together. But it looks like just a steady 1 to 2 feet of snow for each storm for those mountains.
If we're looking a little further out, and you kind of touched on it just with the extreme cold temperatures by next weekend, are we going to be steadily having some storms, or once this one passes away, are we just going to have the cold weather?
So it looks like we have our first storm that's today, and then the next storm that's that Saturday evening into early Monday, and then another storm looking like Tuesday evening into Thursday evening. That one has multiple sections of it. So it doesn't look like we're going to go into high pressure and dry but cold anytime soon. When we start to get into Monday morning and Tuesday morning, the wind chills could be as low as single digits. So if people are going out, starting to get prepared for much colder temperatures than we've seen for a while.
This sounds like it's about to get miserable. But I know
if you like the cold.
I know. But I know we need the water. I know we need the snow. I'm sure the ski resorts are cheering. Finally, it's here. Christine Cruz, lead meteorologist with Salt Lake City National Weather Service Bureau. Thank you so much for joining the show live today to walk us through the big story of the weekend, which will be the weather.
Which shouldn't be a big deal because we're in January. But the fact that December was like awful and it was terrible. It was 20% of what it should be, 20% of normal, not even counting what it was last year. We had 900 inches, over 900 inches last year. And I don't think we've even cracked 100 inches so far.
I want to pivot to our KSL News Radio Facebook page where we posted the question earlier this morning, right during the show. Consider how little snow we've gotten so far. Is it worth buying a ski pass this year? We've gotten a few comments on that post on our KSL News Radio Facebook page, but I'm curious, Dave, you're a skier. Do you normally buy a pass, or do you look at dates that you can just go buy like a one-day pass and go? And have you thought about it?
Yeah, as much as I would like to use a season pass and be able to go that often, you have to do some math on it. Because I'm looking right now at one of my favorite places to ski, and it's a $1,500 pass. So
for the season?
For the season.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, even though we're talking about January, we probably only have January, February, March left.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 3 months. Well, how many times can I go, pay full price, and go skiing? Well, $1,500. To make $1,500 worth it, I've got to go at least 10 times.
That's it?
So
See, I'm so cheap. I'd be like, we'd go. I need to go at least like 30 times.
Yeah, I'm saying just
I
the
want
break
the ski
even.
resort to owe me money at the end.
Yeah.
You know, I want to go so often that they're like, yeah, you're a frequent flyer here. Just go ahead. We know you.
It's like the buffet table. You're like, you're going back for another plate of crab legs.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
yeah, I wanna
10
make your life.
times at $1,500 is $150 a pop. That's so on our KSL News Radio Facebook page. Ashley says, yeah, absolutely, because the storms are brewing. But let's see. Let me look. Karen, Dave agrees with you. Not unless you're going to go more than 10 times. What is it about the number 10?
Good round number. Yeah, it's about $150 to just go skiing. Now, this is where I will qualify. When I have been a season pass holder, one of the things I love about season passes is you don't feel obligated to go for 8 hours in the day. If you're a season pass holder, you can go up and make 3 runs, go for 2 hours, and then come back. That is a different experience. And I have loved that, where you can just go in, ski for a couple hours, call it a day. I love that part of a ski pass.
You know, every night of the week, KSL at night it runs from 7 to 9. It's our live show you can hear right here on KSL News Radio. And they spoke to Ski Utah about the low snowpack numbers, and they said, you know what, they're optimistic.
Even with people hearing about these lower snowpack numbers, the skiing really still is great here in Utah. You know, we're lucky to have it, and obviously lucky to have these world-class resorts in our backyard.
Well, I'll just share a little secret with you, Dave. My daughter just bought her ski pass this week. She was a little late. You know, she used to work at Snowbird, worked there for several years, was an instructor and a mountain host. And we were debating up until the very last minute this week, are you going to buy one? And she went back and forth, and that was mainly due to the low snow totals so far. She bought one.
One of the hardest things about getting a ski pass is you better hope you don't get injured. If you're out for a week or 2 weeks or 4 weeks, like everything's ruined.
Hey, Monday, we've got a big show coming up. We start at 9 o'clock right after Tim and Amanda hand over the microphones to Dave and I. Park City is taking child care relief, if you will, to a whole new level within their community. City Council just approving a $1 million budget that could help families afford child care.
And the amount that they could allocate is staggering. I couldn't believe it. It could allocate up to $1,700 per month.
For kids who are eligible?
Yeah, up to kindergarten.
Okay, so the mayor of Park City, we're expecting a call from the mayor of Park City Monday morning to launch our Monday show, our new Monday through Friday show. We'll be back with you next Friday, but before Friday, we'll be back on Monday. Have a safe weekend. And Andy and Steve up next with the movie show.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. About 10% of Utah was officially considered still in a drought ahead of this weekend's storm system. KSL News Radio's Becky Bruce has the update.
The U.S. Drought Monitor says before this latest round of winter precip arrived, about 31% of the state was abnormally dry and another 9.5% in moderate drought. Of course, drought isn't necessarily the same thing